Hello all. In the last video we have seen concept of macroscopic versus microscopic approach. What is mean by system, surroundings and boundary. Lastly, what are the types of system. In today's video, we will try to see what is mean by thermodynamic properties, processes and cycles. Then, what is the difference between intensive and extensive properties. Lastly, we will take previous year questions in Gate and ESE based on the concept we have seen so far. So let's begin. If I want to plot a point on xy plane, it will be important to know what is distance of this point along x and y axis. Suppose x1 and y1 are the distances of this point along x and y axis. We will call it as coordinates. Coordinates represent exact position of this point on xy plane. Similarly, to describe physical condition of any thermodynamic system, certain characteristics are required. We will call it as thermodynamic properties or thermodynamic coordinates. Some common example of this thermodynamic properties is pressure, volume, temperature, etc. Now, we will plot volume on x-axis and pressure on y-axis. Suppose at given instance, our given thermodynamic system is at state 1, having volume V1 and pressure P1. After some time, interaction of this system will take place with surroundings, due to which its properties will get changed and it will attain state 2, having volume V2 and pressure P2. So any change that system undergoes from one state to another state we will call it as process. Series of states through which system passes during a process is called as path of the process. Finally, take note of that it is necessary to specify initial and final states of the process as well as the path it follows and the interaction of this process with the surrounding. Lastly, we will try to see what is meant by thermodynamic cycle. So as we know, state 1 was the initial state of our given process, and through it has undergone interaction with surrounding, due to which it has attained state 2. So we will call a system has undergone a cycle if at the end of the process this system returns to its initial state. So this state 1 to 2 through again 1, we will call it as cycle. So we can say that in case of thermodynamic cycle, initial and final states are identical. In this example, 1 to 2, again 1, we will call it as cycle. In this case, if 1 to 2 only we have considered like this, then it is called process. I hope till this point your concepts are clear. Now we will try to see what is the difference between intensive and extensive properties. Intensive properties are those properties which are independent of the mass or size of given thermodynamic system, whereas extensive properties are related to mass or size of given thermodynamic system. Simple trick to distinguish between intensive and extensive properties is that divide system into two equal parts with an imaginary partition. So let's consider this is our given thermodynamic system, which is having mass m, volume v, temperature T and pressure P. Now let's divide this given system into two equal parts with an imaginary partition. Now each part will have same value of intensive properties but half the values of extensive properties, that is half the mass and half the volume. So from this example we easily got that mass and volume are extensive properties, that means they are related to mass or size of given system, whereas temperature and pressure are independent of size or mass or of given system, so we will classify them into intensive properties. Take note of that specific extensive properties, that is extensive properties per unit mass, we can classify them into intensive properties. For example, when I divide volume by mass, I will get specific volume, which is an intensive property. Similarly, quotient obtained by dividing extensive property by another extensive property, we will get intensive property. For example, when I divide mass by volume, I will get density. Here we know mass and volume both are extensive properties, whereas density is an intensive property. So here I have tabulated most frequently asked intensive and extensive properties, because in exam 3-4 options will be given to you and you will have to identify whether it is intensive or extensive property. Now moving on, we will try to see previous year questions in Gate and ESE on above concepts. First is, which of these are intensive properties? First is kinetic energy, second entropy, third thermal conductivity, and fourth pressure. As we have already seen, kinetic energy and entropy are classified into extensive properties. So remaining two, that is thermal conductivity and pressure, are intensive properties. So correct answer is C, that is 3 and 4 only. While explaining the concept of boundary, I have already told you boundary of the thermodynamic system can be real or imaginary, and it can be fixed or movable or both. So correct option is C, can be fixed and movable both. Third one, change in property in thermodynamic cycle is A positive, B negative, C 0, D none of the above. While explaining the concept of thermodynamic cycle, I have shown you that state 1, which is having properties V1 and P1, this is the initial state of thermodynamic system. As it undergoes interaction with surrounding, it will attain state 2. This is called process. But again, when from the state 2 it returns to state 1, then it completes thermodynamic cycle. So change in property in thermodynamic cycle will be 0, as initial state and final state are same. So correct answer in this case will be C, that is 0. So that completes concept of intensive extensive property and properties, processes, cycles. If you like this video, please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you.